So we'll discuss. So we'll start with some of the questions. So first question, who want to give the answer?
Yes, sir.
Can I answer it? I'm not able to listen.
Yes, sir.
So there is a question on your screen. Should soft toric contact lens fitting protein part of a contact lens fitting?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So definitely yes. So let me ask you another question. Who are the suitable? Who are the people who can be given toric contact lenses, or those who are suitable for toric contact
Sir, if
lenses?
the cylindrical power is more than a sphere,
Okay.
So
and
when the
if the patient
resting
is
When the patient
unsatisfactory
is
with
not
the
spherical
spherical equivalent
equivalent.
power,
Okay. So first thing is that the cylindrical power is more than 0.5 diopter. So definitely you want to have an option for toric contact lenses if the number is more than 0.75 cylindrical. If it is less than 0.75, then spherical lenses will work. Then comfort is also one of the thing, but nowadays comfort is not a very big issue. Uh, some designs are having some issues with the comfort in the toric contact lenses because why? Because toric lenses would be having a slightly less comfortable than soft spherical lenses. Any reason for that?
so maybe because it is thick from one side and thin from one side.
So because of basically stabilization method. But now the modern lenses are from the comfort point, it is not a big issue. And then those people or those patients who cannot tolerate RGB lenses. So normally any cylindrical number more than 3.5 or 3.75, we want to give them the RGB lenses. But there are patients who are not able to tolerate, then we will also can consider the soft toric lenses. Then again, these are the problem which is related with RGB intolerance. So all these are related to RGB tolerance. 3 and 9 o'clock staining is one of the complications that we see in the RGB patients. And of course, affordability. So since soft toric lenses are a little bit more costly than spherical lenses, so that is also one of the option, but this is the last option. Means if you are going to consider whether that a patient is suitable for toric lenses or not, first thing you have to, first criteria is look this one, this come at last. Many of time I see that people will consider this factor first, then they will go to the other factor. So this is the last factor. You don't have to think too much about the affordability. It is the patient choice. As a clinician, first thing you will look to this. So how a toric lenses are different from spherical lenses. So toric lenses are basically for toric cornea. Toric cornea means your cornea is not having same curvature in both meridian. So your both meridian would be having different power. Different power means different curvature. So if this meridian need one diopter and this horizontal meridian need two diopters, so definitely a spherical lens would not able to correct this cornea because a spherical lens would be having only one power, either one or two or anything in between. So like in cases of spherical equivalent, what we do, we choose a number in between these two numbers. So toric lenses would be having these two numbers, and since it would be having a cylindrical number, so stabilization is one big issue in the toric lenses. So toric lenses are normally lenses that contain a cylindrical component to correct astigmatism by bearing two different optical powers into mutually perpendicular meridians. So normally, if you say how will you define the toric lenses, so Simply these are lenses which contain cylindrical number. So those are the toric lenses, toric contact lenses. So many of the practitioners, optometrists, even the optometrists who are practicing the contact lens too, they feel that toric lenses are difficult to fit. So this is a kind of myth that is not only we see in the new practitioners, even with the old practitioners who are practicing contact lenses, which is actually not true. Why they normally think that toric lenses are difficult to fit? So if you look carefully, this two, both these are the contact lenses. This represent the spherical lenses, and this represent the toric lenses. So one of the reason people or practitioners, this is not related to patient, this is related to practitioner. We as a practitioner, we consider toric lenses are difficult to fit because we have to look for these orientation marks. So a toric lens would be having orientation mark. So some lens would be orientation marks at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Then there would be other lenses. So it differ from company to company. So like typically this 5, 6 and 7 o'clock mark you will see in the Bausch and Lomb toric lenses. Then there would be the other contact lenses which would be having stabilization mark at 3 and 9 o'clock, 3 and 9 o'clock. And then there would be some lenses which would having this stabilization marks, not stabilization mark, this is the axis rotation, not also axis rotation mark. This is only toric lens marking and 12 and 6 o'clock. So this marking does not say anything about lens axis. So one thing you all should be very clear, it is no way telling you that whether this contact lens axis is where it is. It is only telling you about the lens orientation. So when I'm saying orientation means how the lenses has positioned on the cornea. So this orientation marks only tell you. So since when we fit a toric lens, we have to look for this orientation marks, whether it is rotating after patient blink, whether it is rotating right or left, and according to that we have to do some adjustment in the patient final axis. So only because of this simple reason, many of the practitioners feel that toric lenses are difficult to fit, which is actually not true. So let's, I will just simply discuss the simple steps of fitting a toric contact lenses. So what is the concept behind the toric contact lenses? In soft contact lenses, spherical contact lenses, you do not have to worry about lens rotation. You have to worry about the lens movement. If the lens is moving too much, then you have to make it more. But rotation is not any concern in a spherical contact lenses. But in toric contact lenses, rotation becomes a concern on the eye. So if the lens is rotating too much, so I'm using what is rotation. So rotation is different, and then movement is different word. So when the lens is too much rotating on the eye, so what it does cause, it does cause the misalignment of the axis. So a toric lens should remain stable or should not rotate in the eye to provide a stable vision to the wearer. So basic concept is that whatever the toric contact lens design that we are giving to the patient, that lens should be stable on the eye. It should not rotate too much. Of course, there should be some movement in that lenses, but that lens should not rotate too much on the eye. Or better is that it should not rotate at all. So how will we ensure that? So why a lens rotate on the eye? First thing we first understand this, why a lens will rotate on the eye. Any input why a lens will rotate on the eye? Though answers are written there. Any responses from any of you? Why lens will rotate on eye?
सर डिफरेंट पावर होने की वजह से वो लेंस
Power do not
कहीं पे
have to do anything with lens rotation.
सर मतलब वो कहीं पे देख के थिन होने की वजह से.
So the answer is written there already. So there are different factors which cause lens rotation. One is the gravity. So gravity is whatever thing the gravity will pull downwards. So then there is a gravity, because of the gravity, the lens comes downward. Then there is a lid pressure. So when we blink, there is a lid pressure. So our eye normally blink. So we cannot keep our eyes open always. So we have to blink. So whenever blinking, so because of the blinking, there is a lid pressure of the upper and lower eyelid. And because of that, also there is a lens movement. Then there is a different corneal and limbal topography. Your cornea is having different topography and this limbus is having different topography. So there is a shape difference that also causes some kind of instability, and that leads, that can also contribute to the lens movement rotation. Then tear fluid forces. So tear is again, so tear, what does tear do? Tear also acts as a lubricating agent. So there is a lens, then is a lid pressure, and in between there is a tear fluid, which is actually a lubricating agent. So it also provide a lubrication effect that also kind of help in the rotation of the lens. And then there is a thickness of the contact lenses. There is a thickness difference between the optic zone and then the periphery of the lens. So all, because of all these factors, the lens tend to rotate on our cornea. And when lens rotate on the cornea, what would happen? So suppose a patient has given 180 axis, and after blink, the lens rotate and the axis comes this way. The axis becomes 160. And then the patient would not be comfortable with the vision with the lens. So that's why a lens should be stable in terms of rotation on the eye. So what we do to ensure that the lens should not rotate on the eye. So how do you stop lens rotation? Quick answer.
By stabilization techniques.
So we have to apply some kind of stabilization techniques. So there are different kind of stabilization techniques that manufacturer uses to stabilize the lenses. So some of them we know that stabilization method, rotational stability is that again that comes under the stabilization methods. So we know these names. All of you already have written or read about all these methods: prism ballast, truncation, paraballast, double slab of reverse prism, and then AST. So these are the some of the very known and very accepted stabilization methods. So different company uses different kind of stabilization methods. So I would not go in very details of all the like what actually prism ballast, what actually truncation, because it becomes very academic. So you can go and read. So basic thing is that these are the names that you have. You should know. These are the some stabilization method which toric contact lenses manufacturer use to stabilize their lenses on the eye. And each stabilization method basically based on a principle that is given by Kilpatrick and Hanks in 1983. So before that, what was considered that gravity has a significant effect on the lens rotation. But later on, the research has the later research has shown that this gravity is not having too much effect on the lens rotation, because there is a one study they had done where they have put contact lenses on the patient eye, and then they make patient stand upside down, and in that position also the lens rotation was not very significant different from what it was in the upside down position. And from that they have concluded that lid interaction and thickness profiles are the main influencing factors in the stabilization, and actually it is not gravity. So this is the understanding that is comes in knowledge about the contact lenses after 1983 that was given by the Kilpatrick and Hanks. And what important principle they have given is the watermelon seed principle. This is a very famous principle. I'm sure some of you know about this principle. Can anyone tell what does watermelon seed principle tells us?
So like in stabilization technique, so a base down prism is placed in front of the inferior periphery, so the lens will not move, or we can say rotate. So it is based on this principle, watermelon seed.
That is prism blast. What is a watermelon seed principle specifically? Watermelon. Anyone else?
Sir, like whenever watermelon seed is holded in our hand between the two finger, that cannot be stabilized. So this type of method, I think.
Okay. So something like that. So a watermelon seed is having thickness differential. So watermelon seed would be having a very thin apex. So if I'm sure all of you have seen this watermelon seed. So it will be a very thin at the top, and then at the bottom would be a thick. So there is a thickness differential between top and bottom. And you take a watermelon seed in between your thumb and index finger, and when you try to press, no matter which part of watermelon seed is between your thumb and index finger, the watermelon seed always try to come out from your fingers from this thin portion. So even if your thumb has this thick portion between your thumb and index, so जब आप उसको प्रेस करोगे वो लेंस रोटेट करके घूम कर हमेशा ये थिन वाले पोर्शन से बाहर आएगा. So that basically watermelon seed principle it tells. And why it is happening? Because so there are two things happening. So one thing that watermelon seed is having this special thickness differential between the top and bottom. Then watermelon seed also having a lubrication. So if you touch watermelon with your finger, you will feel a lubricating matter there. So it is very slippery. So there is a lubrication there. And second thing is that in watermelon seed principle, when you are doing this thing, so there is some force that when we are applying that force, the watermelon seed is tend to rotate and come out from that force area from the less thinner portion. So the same principle can be used. So what they have said, the same principle can be used in contact lens stabilization also. क्योंकि हमारे contact lens में we have all this thing. Our contact lens, only thing we have to do, we have to create the thickness differential. Contact lens के एक portion को हमें thick बनाना है और एक portion को हमें thin बनाना है. And this force, जो index finger और thumb का force है, that our eyelid is providing that force. And then tears providing the lubrication effect. So already those things are there. Only thing that we have to create in the contact lens is that we have to create a thickness differential. मतलब contact lens के एक part को हमें thick करना है, एक part को thin करना है, and other. उसकी वजह से क्या होगा? According to watermelon seed principle, जब भी lens अपने eye पे rotate होगा, मतलब हमने जब blink किया and the lens is going to rotate on the eye, तो eyes को open करने के बाद lens हमेशा अपने आप को move करके उसका थिन पोर्शन और थिक पोर्शन वाला पार्ट ऊपर नीचे आ जाएगा. So that's how a lens stabilize itself. So when we are blinking, of course the lens is going to move, the lens is going to rotate. लेकिन जैसे ही आप अपने आई ओपन कर रहे हो, the lens should be at its original position. So अगर ये सारा हमने जो watermelon seed principle में जो सारे forces और सारे lubrication वो सारे हमने किया है, तो the lens would be stabilized. So उसी को that thing they have created in the prism ballast. So if you see in the prism ballast, they have created a lens like that. They have put it a 1 to 1.5 based on prism in the lower portion of the lens. So there is a thickness differential. The top portion is thin and the bottom portion is thick. So already watermelon seed principle वाला यहाँ जो effect होगा that will be there, and because of that the lens will not rotate on the eye. Because even the lens will rotate, it comes to its original position. So prism ballast would be having 1 to 1.5 prism diameter. Basically the stabilization relies on the lead forces, because one important thing is that to लेंस टू बी स्टेबलाइज, जैसे हमने वाटरमेलन सीड प्रिंसिपल में देखा था, इट वुड बी स्टेबलाइज ओनली इफ यू आर पुटिंग प्रेशर विथ योर बोथ फिंगर्स. सो सेम इसी तरीके से कॉन्टेक्ट लेंसेज के टर्म में द प्रेशर वुड बी क्रिएटेड बाय द लिड्स. सो लिड प्रेशर शुड बी गुड. अगर लिड का प्रेशर पेशेंट का पुअर है, देन दिस स्टेबलाइजेशन मेथड वुड नॉट वर्क वेरी वेल. But there are some disadvantage with the prism ballast. This is the vertical prismatic imbalance because we're putting a vertical prism, so that would cause a vertical prismatic imbalance. Then at this portion, the oxygen transmissibility would be less, and then there would be more thickness, so discomfort would be more to the patient. Then there would be the truncation. I'm not going into detail very much. In truncation, what they do, they simply cut the lower portion of the lens. So just truncation means katna. They cut this portion so that the lens is supported by the lower lid. And again, there is a very too much disadvantage of this design, because this truncation edge. First thing is that the stabilization is not very well in this truncation design, and the comfort is also not very good. Then there is a periballast. So they put a minus carrier design. So if you top, you can see a minus carrier design. And basically they limit the prism in a very small area so that it should not come in the optic zone. So basically optic zone area is prism, this free from prismatic effect. But again, here the oxygen transmission will be less, and comfort would be again an issue. Then there is a double slab off where they thin the lenses both superiorly and inferiorly. So basic thing is that लेंस को इतना थिन कर दो कि लेंस बिल्कुल जाकर ऊपर और नीचे वाले पोर्शन में एकदम टाइटली बैठ जाए, तो लिड के प्रेशर की वजह से उस पर कुछ इफेक्ट नहीं आएगा. So normally this design work in the people who are having poor lid forces, or their lid force are not good, or lid tonus are not very good. Then there are reverse prism. So again, this is again a modification of the prism ballast, जिसमें जो बेस डाउन प्रिज्म को काउंटर करने के लिए they put a base up prism. So that's why that is called a reverse prism. And then there is a acceleration stabilization design that is used by the J&J, Johnson and Johnson lenses specifically. So ये design में there are 4 zones. If you can see 1, 2 and 3, 4, there are 4 different zones जो कि बैलेंस रखते हैं. मतलब लेंस किधर भी रोटेट करेगा. सपोज लेंस ऐसे रोटेट कर रहा है, फॉर एग्जांपल लेंस इज रोटेटिंग दिस वे, लेकिन ये जैसे तराजू में आप दोनों तरफ बराबर वजन रखो तो दोनों चीजें हैंग करके फिर एक लेवल पे आ जाएंगी. तो सिमिलर वे बोथ दोनों तरफ इन्होंने सेम वेट जोन्स क्रिएट किया है कि लेंस रोटेट भी करेगा तो दूसरी तरफ का एरिया उसको बैलेंस करके मेन वर्टिकल पोजीशन में ले आएगा. सो दिस इज द पेटेंट डिजाइन बाय जॉनसन एंड जॉनसन, जो कि बेसिकली वाटरमेलन सीड प्रिंसिपल पे बेस नहीं है, दैट इज बेस्ड ऑन द अदर प्रिंसिपल. So that's what they call is as accelerated stabilization design. So the thing is that there are different stabilization. All the toric lenses using some kind of a stabilization method. Some stabilization methods work very well, some does not work very well. So some patient, I have seen some patient who are, in my personal experience, I feel that AST is a very good design because it does not have the thickness differential or thickness almost uniform everywhere. And the stabilization I have seen personally is very good in this stabilization method. But I also have noticed that there were patients who were using for a very long time Bausch and Lomb toric lenses, that is basically prism ballast. Now the modified is the reverse prism stabilization technique. And when I shifted them to this ASD design, they were not comfortable with the ASD. So it again vary from patient to patient. You cannot say for sure that this patient would be very suitable for this. So the only thing is that every company is using some kind of a stabilization method, and those methods, whatever the stabilization technique they are using, that is kind of very accurate and they normally work for their lenses. The problem is with the local lenses, local manufacturer lenses. They normally do not have very good stabilization methods incorporated in their lenses. So The next important thing in the toric lens is that you will see that laser marks. So as in my second slide, I have said that laser marks are very important. Like I said that some lenses would be having laser marks at 5, 6 and 7 o'clock. Some would be having at 3, 9 and 6 o'clock. And then there are some lenses would be having only 12 and 6 o'clock. So like Bosch and Lomb would be having only 5, 6, 7. Then focused toric lenses, that was Siva Vision. Now it is Alcon. So their toric lenses would be having this 3, 6 and 9 o'clock mark, and alpha is the J&J lenses. Johnson & Johnson lenses, they would be having 12 and 6 o'clock mark. But the bottom line is that every toric lenses would be having some kind of laser mark or lens orientation mark. In more technical term, we say them as a lens orientation mark. So again, I am repeating, you should not confuse this laser mark with the axis mark. These are not axis mark. These are only the orientation marks, which will tell you that how the lens is oriented on the cornea, whether the lens is rotating too much or it is very stable on the cornea. So now coming to the toric soft lens fitting. Okay, so before I go to the fitting steps, any questions till now? Okay, so you can write your questions in the chat box if there is any. So let's go step by step. What is the step of toric lenses? So initial step of fitting is same like soft spherical contact lenses. Like first step is that you screen patient. You will do the slit line examination and you will see that there should not be any contraindication for contact lens. Then you will choose that whether this patient is suitable for toric lenses or not according to refractive error. So if the cylindrical number is more than 0.5 diopter, then definitely we'll think about giving toric lenses. If the cylindrical number is less than 0.75 diopter, then no need to give the toric lenses. There is a very famous earlier rule that is called as a 4:1 rule. So that was a old school. Nowadays, no one going by this 4:1 rule. What this 4:1 rule say that if your spherical power is 4, so it can compensate 1 diopter of cylindrical. So in simple terms, suppose a patient is having glasses number is like -4 diopter with -1 cylindrical. So what we'll do in this case, according to 4:1 rule, -4 into 1, 90-degree axis. And this patient want contact lens.
We can prescribe
So we
spherical
can give
each
minus
one.
4.50 diopter spherical.
So if you go by the 4:1 rule, we can give them spherical lenses, because what 4:1 rule tell that if there is a 4 spherical number, then it can easily compensate 1 diopter of cylindrical. So what you will do, you will do the just simply spherical equivalent. You will give the spherical equivalent number. But that was the old rule. Now no one follows this 4:1 rule. Now the present rule is that you just look at the cylindrical number. If the cylindrical number is more than 0.5, go for toric lenses. Don't follow this 4:1 rule. Correct. So there are a lot of unlearning you have to do. So the previous knowledge was the 4:1. That learning you have to unlearn. So there is no 4:1 now. There is only one rule. If the cylindrical number is more than 0.5, go for the toric lenses, unless the patient do not want to go for the toric lens. Then step 2, of course, you will do the keratometry to know the base curve. So base curve selected by adding 0.8 mm to the flattest K, we all know. Then you will measure the HVID, and then we add 2 mm to know the diameter. So, and then 4th is that you will choose a trial lens if you are doing a contact lens trial. So while choosing a trial lens, you make sure that your trial lens having cylindrical axis same as patient spectacle axis or patient refractive error axis, or not. If the lens is not available same, so at least it is near to that axis. What does mean that? Suppose आपके पास कोई patient आया, that patient number is -3 with -1.25 90 degree, and you have a trial lens is -3 -1.25 180 degree. So the number is totally same, -3 1.25 90 degree. Patient refractive error is -3 -1.25 180 degree. So will you give the trial with that lens to the patient?
No, sir.
Why
No,
no?
sir. Because there is a huge axis difference, sir.
Huge axis difference. So even plus minus 20 is acceptable. So 90 is like if you have 80 or 70 or you have 10 or 100, then you can go with that. But if you do not having uh, in your trial lenses whose axis is near to that axis, so better to do not give a trial with that lens. So what we do normally we do not have, because there is a there is a infinite number of possibility of the patient spherical cylindrical number combination with the axis. So normally in toric contact lenses, what we do if the patient is first time user, we just order a trial lens. We order a trial lens, then a trial lens come, then with the trial lens would be same as patient spectacle number, and then we give a trial according to with that new trial lens. So while fitting, there are some extra steps that has been involved with the toric contact lens fitting. So I will divide into two. Is this extra step is the pre-fitting evaluation, the post-fitting evaluation. So having said all those four steps, like screening, selection, then base curve, diameter. So before that also you have to do a pre-fitting evaluation. One is that you have to be very sure that the refraction is accurate. If you are doubtful about the refraction, so please repeat the refraction, because many a time what happened, people have done refraction somewhere else and they directly come to you for a toric lenses, because like some patient who has checked their eyeglasses outside or somewhere else and then they are coming to you for a toric contact lenses order if you're a contact lens practitioner. And if you are ordering that toric lenses according to that prescription that you have not done and you are not very sure whether this prescription is not correct, and if you have given according to that number and later on if it is found that the prescription is not correct, then it is your fault, it is not patient fault. So you should be very sure that the accurate refraction. And why it becomes more important, because in the cylindrical lenses the axis becomes a big factor. Even the spherical and cylindrical number is correct, sometimes axis is wrong. So all thing is there matter is the axis. So even if you're giving the good spherical and cylindrical number but axis is wrong, again the patient would not be comfortable. So you make sure that the refraction is accurate, and there is a thing called test for axis rotation tolerance or test tolerance for axis rotation. What does that point mean?
सर अगर लेंस रोटेट सर 10 to 20 डिग्री अगर होता भी है, मतलब थोड़ा इधर या उधर आता है, तो पेशेंट उसको टॉलरेट कर सकता है या नहीं?
So that's how good patient tolerance limit. Because what happens, some patient are very poor tolerance. होता है ना, आप एक्सेप्टेंस कराते हो किसी पेशेंट को और आपने उसके आई में लेंस लगाया और उसके आई में लेंस लगा के आप रोटेट कर रहे हो, क्या होता है? कुछ पेशेंट होते हैं उनको 5 डिग्री भी रोटेट कर दो उनको कुछ मतलब नहीं होता है, उनको वही लगता है हाँ ये भी ठीक है. लाइक पेशेंट इज हैविंग 90 पर भी सेम विजन बताएगा, 90 एक्सिस पे भी सेम विजन बताएगा, 100 पे भी बताएगा सेम है. So what does that mean? Their axis tolerance is very good. But some patient, if you go from 90 to 95, they will be like कि क्या कर दिया आपने, सब कुछ खराब हो गया. So what does that mean? So they have a very poor tolerance for axis. So please do a test for axis tolerance. It does not mean that a patient who is having poor axis tolerance, you will not give them lenses today. It only makes you more careful that whether this patient would require a more accurate trial, or this patient could 5 degree, 10 degree up and down, this patient would not be having any problem. So this will give you in a sense that how this patient is going to behave with the lenses. ठीक है, so it will give you an idea because आपने पहले नहीं किया, and there would be lens rotation. Toric lenses में there is going to be some lens rotation, and later on you do adjustment according to lens rotation जो कि हम आगे discuss करेंगे. But first you check for them and make a note in your document, do a documentation that how this patient access tolerance. Up to 5 degree access tolerance is a good tolerance. अगर patient को 5 degree के बीच में भी tolerance नहीं कर पा रहा, means there is a very poor tolerance. Then in post fitting evaluation, आपने एक बार lens patient के eye पे लगा दिया trial lens. So in post fitting evaluation, of course, you have to do the slit lamp fitting assessment. Slit lamp fitting assessment में basically you have to do the lens rotation, जैसे हमने पहले वाले picture में दिखाया था कि lens पर laser marks होंगे. So you have to look for this laser marks rotation. Laser marks left rotate कर रहा है या right rotate कर रहा है. So that you have to do in slit lamp evaluation. You have to look for that also. So बहुत सारे slit lamp में इस तरीके के graticules होते हैं जो कि actually बताते हैं कि लेंस का वो laser mark कितना डिग्री रोटेट किया है, जो कि बॉश ये जाइस के स्पेशल लेंसेज सेट लैम्प आते हैं जिसमें ग्रेटिक्यूल्स होते हैं. हमारे पास कोई सा भी लेंसेज सेट लैम्प नहीं है जिसमें ग्रेटिक्यूल्स है, बट कुछ सेट लैम्प में ग्रेटिक्यूल्स आते हैं जिसके थ्रू आप मेजर कर सकते हो. बट ऑब्जेक्टिवली यू कैन बता सकते हो कि इतना मूव कर रहा है. देन यू हैव टू डू एक्सिस कॉम्पनसेशन अकॉर्डिंग टू लार्स एंड कास रूल, जो कि हम आगे डिस्कस करेंगे. So दो तरीके के फिटिंग्स होते हैं, empirical diagnostic. In short, empirical fitting means you are not doing any trial. पेशेंट का जो भी refractive error है उसके अकॉर्डिंग आपने vertex distance compensation किया और final lens order कर दिया. You have not put any lens on the patient eye.